Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. You ready for another episode of my Bigfoot sighting? Alright then, let's do this.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, loves and the plow, and the five-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah.
If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let me know.
Our Bigfoot sightings all happened in West Central Florida. My name is Michael Aguilar, and I have my son, Kaylen Aguilar. We're both members of the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group, located in Central Florida. And we've been doing this together actively for about 6 years. Kaylen's turning 10, or is 10 turning 11. And we've been doing this for about 6 years together. And I started bringing him out as something to do, kind of to just a father-son thing to do. And it kind of coincides with going fishing. We love to go fishing together a lot. So I'll start by telling you Kaylen's really first experience that me and him had together. And it was in an area where I've been wanting to get in and do some research. And there's a creek that runs through there. That same creek is part of the area that I've had a lot of other things happen at. And this was a new area that I wanted to get into and do research. So I asked him if he wanted to go fishing. He said yes. And we went down to where this creek is, and there's basically a power line run that runs through it. And there's two sides, a mowed side and an unmowed side. The unmowed side is very hard to get through and navigate, but it has a very nice part of the creek that runs through. But that creek basically cuts you off. It has a turn. It goes down, turns up, and then turns again. And you can't see behind what's on the other side of that creek. And I was taking him fishing, and we're sitting there fishing, and I'm doing a little research at the same time. And we had started, we heard a few noises, a few different things, and it wasn't no big deal. Then we found what was like a big bowel movement. And we were looking, and I was like, man, that doesn't look really normal. And Kaylen is very, very curious, and he likes to always run around. And we went down to where, if you look across the creek, you can't see, like I said, that's to the other side. And as we went to where the creek, you can see down it. As soon as we made that clear where you can actually see down, I started hearing what it sounded like barred owls, but they sounded way bigger. And then it got like a lot of them. It was just, they were going crazy. And then Kaylen, I'll let you pop in and you can tell kind of what happened and what you heard.
Well, whenever we heard those noises, which we thought they were barred owls just going off like crazy, whenever we were fishing, I kind of reeled my line in, and I looked across the creek, and it looked like, I don't know, really, it kind of looked like just like a big like gorilla or bear. Like half of his body was poking out of the tree, and then whenever I looked up, it looked like he quickly went back, and I just saw like his head poking behind the tree. It looked like, I don't know, whenever the light hit it, it was just like a brownish. It's not really like had any like red to it. It was like a brownish. It was like dark brown and light brown kind of, and then the rest of it was just all black. And the shoulders were really wide. I feel like part of his shoulders, I feel like part of his shoulder looked as wide as me. That's how wide it was. And it was like just, sitting behind the tree. And I don't know.
I know it's hard for you, buddy. I'll help you out. Basically, he was peeking out from behind the tree. And I thought that he was just getting excited and being a kid. And I didn't quite believe him. I'm like, did you really see, buddy? I was like, did you really see something? And he got so upset. Like he started crying like, yeah, you got to believe me, Dad. And I'm like, okay, buddy, I believe you. And then all the other stuff led me into going there the next day with my dog, which he was saying that kind of led me into the area that I'd found a bedding area. There was a group of 3 palms that had been pushed over and it was dug out underneath it. And I had video from that day that I slowed down with a friend of mine and we found a clip that has what we nickname him Harry because it looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. And he's looking sideways. It's a blurry picture, but if you're looking at it and you know what you're seeing, it's there. And it's an amazing picture. So we got back home later that night and I'm like, why don't you do this, man? I want you just to go ahead and draw what you think you saw. And he drew the most amazing little picture and details. I had it actually up on our Facebook page at one time. And it is such a perfect. He's got the creek going through. He's got the tree with him peeking out, looking at him. It's amazing. Such a good little drawing that he did of it. How excited did you get?
Oh, I got really excited. And then my dad was like, are you sure? And then I was like, yeah. And then I like started crying because I don't think he believed me. And then the next day he went back there.
Let's tell them about the other one on the other side of Cypress Creek, the elevated area where we had the vocal interaction. I'll let you tell us a little bit about the details of the vocal. Okay. Tell us what we were doing. Because we went down, I'll start it for you. We went into another area that we had been down before, and it's an elevated area. It's like a berm kind of, and it goes into the swamp behind us. It's at the back of a preserve. And that preserve where that ridge is it's kind of like a bike trail or a hiking trail. And it's elevated during the flood season that it can't get into the neighborhoods that are not too far from there. But this trail is right on the edge of a 10,000 acre preserve. And I've had tons of activity happen back there. And on that day, we were going down the trail and I made a little sound and I heard something come back. We've had vocalizations happen a lot and a lot of interaction where they make the sounds we make back. And the sounds that we make, we've heard them make towards us, and that's how we use them or where we've got them from. So, Kaylen, I'll let you. What happened? How long were we out there doing that?
So we were out there like making noises for like an hour, probably hour or about less than an hour. It's right next to we were up high, like he said. It was like elevated, and there was this creek that was below us. It was kind of like next to us, below us, whatever. So whenever we were walking, we were kind of like walking and making the sounds like at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we kept on hearing like whoo, and then like barred owls like whoo whoo whoo, like going off, or they were going off like
way in the distance at first,
like 200, 300 yards away, probably, and then we kept on making the noises, and there was one probably like, I don't know, like probably like 50 feet away from us or something.
It was close.
Or like 40 feet away from us. And it was just like loudest barred owl sound I've ever heard. And I got so scared. I was so scared. It sounded, I don't know, it was just so loud. It was sitting right next to us, squatted down behind a palmetto tree. Like on the bank of the creek, kind of. Remember, you got that picture? We have a picture of it. It looks like a female squatting down behind a palmetto tree, big palmetto tree.
We were back there I was filming, and I got into one area where I always start. It's like almost like a line, and once you cross that line, all the weird stuff starts happening. Yeah. And in that line is a direct link actually to another area I go into from another way in. But we're walking that trail, and it's just, I always have him they really like him and they like hearing his tone. And I'll have him do his little whoos and little cooing sounds. And then on that day, they were like, they sounded they were a half a mile off. And then, but it's always three different times. And you hear whoo, 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 like from the distance. And then a couple minutes later, he would do one. And then again, and every time it was getting closer and closer. Like they were coming in. They wanted to know who was talking to them. They were speaking their language, it seemed like, and they were really interested into what Kaylen was doing.
Yeah. They didn't know that it was humans making the noises. They probably thought, I'm assuming, that it was like the same thing as them, like possibly other Bigfoots or something making noises and talking to them. So they wanted to come over to us and see what they thought was making the sounds and see what they were doing. And then I guess they found out it was us, and it kind of like goes silent usually.
Yeah.
It's always super loud and active. And then, for a few minutes they're making sounds. And then a couple of minutes later, just goes dead silent. No birds, no bullfrogs, no frogs in general, no birds, no crickets, nothing.
It's just
silent.
Dead
silent.
And it was almost like we were communicating with them and they were coming in closer and closer. And it was like one of them got close enough to realize that we were humans and not them. And that's, I think, when he let out that, ooh, ooh, ooh. Like, I think he warned them. I think he warned them. Oh, that's the wrong species. I think he was warning them back. But we've never had anything together negative happen. Yeah. We've always had, I believe that this group out there is a big family group. And I think they love the fact that I'm with my son, especially the juveniles. And we've had a lot of interesting things happen where I know we're being followed around. We both can hear them. And they've done it so many different times where they follow us when we go into our area and they'll follow us around till we leave. I actually, one time, one of Kaylen's best friends said he wanted to go out in the woods with us. So I brought him into our most active area. And Kaylen, you want to tell him what we did about the gifting area and everything?
Yeah. So we went to one of our gifting areas with my best friend that lives in our neighborhood, or my neighborhood. And, we took him back in our favorite spot that we've been talking about for the past few minutes. And, we wanted to go with him to our gifting spot to go see, if anything took any of the Reese's that we put back there. And we did. We found wrappers. We found the wrappers just laying on the ground. And the cool thing is that, usually you would think like if something big and hairy came and like unwrap something, it'll maybe like leave a hair or something. And it did. We found hair and we put it in a Ziploc bag and we took it back. And what'd you do? You sent it to Meldrum or something?
I actually gave that one to Tim.
Tim.
I gave that one to Tim for him to look at and look under his microscope and see if it ended up being a legit hair. And Tim did say it ended up looking like a legit hair. But I'll go a little more detailed. We took him back to the gifting spot, and there had been quite a few Reese's that I put out. Reese's has peanut butter in them, which I think they're attracted to. And the bright orange like kind of stands out and lets them know, hey, and I've been doing it for a few years now. And every time I go back there and leave them, they're gone. Sometimes they disappear before I even leave. Like I'll go about, walk around, turn around, come back to leave, and something's already gone. On that day, we found 2 wrappers that had been torn open, not bit or anything else. They were torn open and on the ground. And right in between both wrappers was a footprint, and it matched the size of the normal size, which I say male. I call him a big male back there. And it's about a 14-inch footprint.
Big toe.
Because we call him Big Toe because he always leaves a footprint with his big toe showing. One
big toe.
Yeah, it's like he lifts his other toes up or something. It's really weird. Yeah. But we found a nice footprint that I actually have on I put that on our page also. It's a really cool picture, the footprint right in the middle. And on the wrapper was this beautiful, nice black hair that was about 3 inches long.
Yeah. Wait, I want to talk about what the day that we found the trap too, and tripwire stuff.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I would think if you're something out in the woods that, I mean, it's not like something that lives in the woods for its whole life that clearly doesn't want to be seen, and it's like, popular, and because they don't like to be seen. It's not like they won't go to the grocery store and buy a big steak or something, They won't go buy fruit and stuff. So whatever is out there has to kill like deer or something and eat it. So the same day I was out with my friend, we found like this trap. It was like this trap. It didn't really look like bark, It didn't really look like bark wood. It looked like wood that people used to build with. Like, I mean, I'm sure they already like trim it and stuff. They get all the bark off. If you know what I mean, like construction wood kind of. It almost looked like that. It looked like something made a trap out of wood, and it looks like if a deer or something, it was like perfect level for a deer. If a deer walks by or something, it'll like, I don't know. It looked like maybe it like would hit him in the head or something.
It looked like some form of a spring trap or something along those lines. That's also in the area where we had found the vine that looked like a tripwire. Mm-hmm. And this vine was about an inch around, and it was about 40 foot long, and was really cool the way it was almost connected to two trees by going around them with another piece of wood to help put the tension on it to make it tight. And it was about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground. It was perfect height for if you were running, scaring a deer, it would run right into that and trip on it and slow it down enough for you to grab it. It was really, really cool. We found a lot of stuff back there like that. We've also found what looks like to be blinds, and where hunting blinds almost, where their trees are set at an angle and they're always into a fork in the tree. And then you'll see different types of other bushes up in there. Like I've found palmetto palms and oak leaves up in the middle of a pine tree that's laying up. It's just, they makes no sense. All the different trees that are put together and bushes together up in these trees, almost like blinds that they hide behind.
Yeah. I think they like to corner the deer. Whatever, like, if one's trying to, like, kill a deer or something, the deer's gonna run, or the deer's gonna, like, try and run off from whatever it got scared by. Then there's gonna be, like, another Sasquatch or Bigfoot on this side. Then it's gonna turn, and it's gonna run right into the tripwire, and it's gonna slow the deer down enough for them to go run over and eat them. I mean, to run over and get them and basically rip it apart.
Right. Yeah. Well, I used to think that, remember how we would always go into that area and how long it takes us to get in there because of all the trees leaning against like that fence line. And it's like an obstacle course. Basically, it looks like an obstacle course. And I used to think that was for us. I used to think that was to keep us out. And then after I found that tripwire and how it was located to where that trail was, I realized that those aren't for us. That's another form of hunting. They've got this trail set up with like an obstacle course where something turns and tries to run away from them. It has to jump over and around all these obstacle course. And if you're something that can sit there and hide right by a tree and you've got multiple ones, it's like they could run them almost like they're running dogs, and they have to jump and go around this. It's really easy for them to grab them. And we found back there in this location, we actually found a hog, and Kaylen wasn't with me that day, but we found a hog, and that hog had 4 broken legs, which was the most unique thing I've ever seen back there. Just as far as just alive. He was alive sitting there with 4 broken legs. And that was insane to see.
Oh, also, I remember, this one day we went out with a couple of friends that we met. Remember Wiley? Wiley and another Mike.
Mike
Mike
Famelot.
Mike F. Yeah, Mike Famelot. And we were out there by the caves that are actually near where we're at right now. It was kind of around Wikiwachi-ish, like Homosassa.
Yeah.
Kind of, right? And we actually, because whenever we go to the caves, there's caves there. And whenever we go to the caves, we're always like, man, I want to explore this area, right? So then we were like, maybe we should do it. So we met these people. Then we went out in the woods with, like, they took their truck, then we took our truck, and we were like following each other. And the terrain is really unique there. It's like really, there's a lot of hills. There's like
a lot of hills. It's very dry, unique for Florida.
It's like clay, dry kind of. I don't know. And we parked our vehicles, and we got out at this one spot, and we smelled something really strong. You probably know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And it smelled really strong, and it was almost like our nose led us to where that scent was coming from. And whenever we found where that smell was coming from, it took us a second to find it, but then we were like, oh, are you seeing what I'm seeing? And it looked like some type of animal heart. We thought it was a cow heart or something, right? Like a cow or deer.
There was a few pieces in there, and it was only about 15, 20 feet away from a weird tree structure, little teepee structure that we had just found. And then on the other side of the teepee structure, remember there was all those trees that were pushed down and over that looked like they were about to be used to make something else. It was a really, really weird area, but that mutilated remains of animals was pretty gruesome.
Yeah. There was like intestines everywhere. It looked like intestines everywhere. It was like slimy. It looked like slimy, thick worms everywhere.
But there was nothing that showed any signs of tools being used to cut, kill, or whatever it was. It looked like everything had just been ripped apart. Mm-hmm. You know, we've had the some other stuff that we've already talked about. We didn't talk about it together, but he was with me when we were in Jennings, and we can talk about what we just had happen this weekend. So we had our return trip to Jennings State Forest last weekend, and we actually met up with a film crew. And they stayed with us the whole weekend. We were doing some filming for some things that I can't talk about right at the moment. They're kind of a surprise, but it was a really cool experience for all of us. And we wanted Kaylen to be with us. So he came back, and we went out to the same exact road that we found the trackway last year. Last year, we found 16-inch footprints on a back little sugar sand road that were with a 54-inch stride that went on for a quarter mile and dead end into a creek. And so we went back, same exact road. We start going down it. Now that road is no longer sugar sand. It's all grown up. There's pine needles covering it and leaves and grass, and it's nothing like it used to be. So we really couldn't see any impressions, but we went down the road, and about a quarter mile down it, or no, I'm sorry, not a quarter mile, probably about 100 yards down it, started seeing trees pushed over, and they didn't look like necessarily they were all from storm damage. One of them was completely looked like it had been twisted.
Yeah.
And then another one was going across the trail and bent into another tree where it was going up it. And so we kept going, and we all got weird feelings that day. Like we were all getting that feeling like, ooh, this kind of feels different back here. So we followed that down to the creek. And when we got to the creek, it's a dry time of year. So we actually followed a game trail that went off to the left on the edge of the creek. We followed that back into an area, and we were back there for about an hour walking around. And on our way back out, we went into this little area where the tree line it's almost like a little valley in there. It's a small little valley. And there's like a little marsh. That's a better way to put it, a little marsh. And it was real pretty and green in there with water, that was little water puddles in different spots. And so I walked in, and I saw right at the edge of this little puddle. I'm like, that looks like a footprint. And it wasn't real big, and directly across from it, there was another one about maybe 4 foot away on the other side of the little puddle. And I got out my tape measure, measured it. It ended up being 10.5 inches by 5.5 inches wide, which is, and 4 inches wide at the heel, which is way too wide to be a normal human barefoot. So I was like, I think we've actually got a good print over here, guys. So camera guys came over. Kaylen starts going to walk off. And what'd you find?
I found 5 prints. Well, hold on. I found this first print. It was castable, or it looked really good. It looked castable. Then I thought, well, there might be some more prints. So I kept walking like slowly forward, being careful from where I stepped, and I found another footprint. And then going up this like steep hill, I found another print, then another, and it turned out being 5 prints is what I found.
And when he first yelled over at me, he's like, Dad, I got one over here too. And I'm like, all right, buddy, well, hold on. He's like, oh, I got another one too, Dad, another one. So I went over and I look at him and I took out my tape measure, exactly the same. It was from whatever did the prints over the first ones that I found were exactly the same one that did this one, and exact measurements. And then the stride was a little funky because it had to take a weird step to go up the hill. So I really couldn't get a good stride length on it, but we're able to get another set of castings from Jennings again, because we casted both of those. So it ended up making the whole trip, and what we were recording, it made it really, really cool to be live, to kind of have that on video. So we've got this perfect little father and son moment where we both found footprints at the same time, and they were from the exact same animal or creature or being, and we were able to get footprint casts of them. So we had that little memory forever.
Yeah. I want you to talk about the other part about, remember whenever we went on the trail and you thought you saw something looking behind the
Oh, yeah. Sure. He just wants to
it was your sighting, so.
No, but you feel free to talk about it, buddy. We actually met back up with the group, and on the last day of our filming and stuff, we had some audio recorders out on the road that was directly across the street from. These are like almost like logging roads in the middle of nowhere.
Why?
And on the other side of the road from where we found the footprints, that road leads into the deeper part of the forest. And we had audio recorder set up. So the whole group walks down where the audio is, and they're sitting there. And while they're sitting there doing an interview around the audio recorder with the rest of the group, I look up ahead, and like way up ahead, a couple hundred yards up, I look and I see this guy. He's just like standing on the edge of the road. And we've seen some unique characters up there. And we actually went down one trail and some guy kind of yelled at us, like made us feel very uncomfortable. So I thought maybe it was another hunter or something, just kind of out there watching to see what we were doing. And I'm watching and I'm like, for a minute, staring at it. And I'm like, anybody else see that guy? What's that guy doing down there? And Kaylen kind of comes over and he's like, he had just missed seeing him. And I pulled out my phone and I zoomed in with my zoom, and my camera zoom is way better than my video zoom. I didn't know that at the time, but I zoomed in, and when I zoomed in, he was no longer standing. I guess it realized I was looking at him. And when I zoomed in, it was a Squatch, and he was squatting down. I couldn't tell exact dimensions by far. It was 200 yards away, but this thing was solid jet black. And now he was squatting down behind this green bush and in front of this tree. And I just saw him perfect sitting there. And he was all black. I couldn't tell much more than that because he wasn't wearing clothes. It was all fur. And so I hit record. I hit video instead of just taking a picture. I hit video. When I hit video, it pulled the zoom out all the way, and I had to zoom back in. By the time I did, he was gone. And the camera guy comes up and he's like, I may have got that. I don't know for sure. So we're still waiting to find out for sure.
Hoping.
Yes, we're hoping. So what happened? We went down that trail, back, and we went down to where the whole group got together now, and we went down there to see what maybe I had seen.
Well, before I talk about that, whenever you were talking about earlier, whenever we were in the Jeep and we had the whole top off, I was like standing up on the seat, looking out the top of it, and I hear, "Hey y'all!" And then me and Christina heard it too, and I'm not sure if you heard it, but you might have heard it.
I heard it.
I feel like you heard a voice, but you weren't sure what it said or what you heard, like what you heard it say, right? And we weren't sure too, but I'm pretty sure it said something said, "Hey y'all," and that's the exact same area where you saw whatever was looking at us.
Yeah, it was really weird. So the group got back together and we walked down there a couple hundred yards to where it was. And as we got closer, you could start telling that it was not at all what I thought I was seeing the way it was set up. It looked like it was so close, but I realized how big this thing had to be for it was so far away. And it was behind this bush and in front of this burnt tree. Everything on the left side of the road had a controlled burn. So on the left side, there was a creek bed that comes out, a dry creek bed. And right on that creek bed, right where I had seen something, a person I thought standing there, whatever that was, used that creek bed to get there. I found a footprint. The footprint was, I believe, 16 inches, which matched the same size as the Jennings footprint we found last year. So we followed that creek bed in. That creek bed led us to another area where we found some tree breaks and a bunch of other really unique things. It was just really cool how it all worked out. Like everything led us, like to see that whatever that was standing there, and then to find the footprint, and then be able to follow that in to a little area that had all this other stuff going on. It was just too much for coincidence.
Yeah.
And thank you for letting us tell our father and son Bigfoot research experiences. It's been such a great part of our life together, and I hope that everyone else gets to enjoy it and enjoy our stories as much as we did when we had them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
My Bigfoot sightings happened in British Columbia in 2002 and 2020. The first time that I seen Sasquatch, I didn't really know what I was seeing. It was late summer, and I went out and visit my friend because he recently moved south of Fort Nelson. So I went out to see him and had a visit, and then before it got dark, I decided that I was going to head home. And I was driving home past the rodeo grounds south of town, and I was cruising along pretty good. And I went down the dip and crossed the tracks, and the tracks. And as I was going down there across the tracks, I noticed what I thought was a bear up there on the side of the road. So I was like, okay, well, you see bears all the time around Fort Nelson area, so no big deal. So as I was driving and I hit the tracks, across the tracks and go up, I saw this thing stand up, and that's when it caught my eye as I was cruising, and then it kind of leapt out towards the truck, and I had to swerve over to get away from it, and that's when I noticed. I was like in shock there for a second. I was like, that wasn't no bear, and I couldn't believe it when it turned around and jumped up, kind of stretched right out. I knew then and there that it wasn't a bear. I was thinking I couldn't believe what I saw, and I was like, well, it wasn't a bear. And Bigfoot didn't even cross my mind until after the fact. And I was a little bit shocked on that. So as I kind of whipped around the vehicle to get away from the Bigfoot, I kind of went up this little hill on the other side. It just starts to tip up, and that's where I went. And as I was topping the hill to get the truck straightened up, I'm on my lane and that, I noticed it was heading back into the woods. The first time I seen it wasn't in the woods, but this time it went off into the woods. So that's where I seen my very first one. And I like I say, I was shocked. I didn't know what it was. And the only reason that I knew, like I say, it wasn't a bear because when it stretched out, it got big fast. And, yeah, it got me off guard. So, yeah, the next day, I was thinking about it a lot. So I jumped in my truck and I drove back, and there's a road that goes in towards the mill. So what I did is I knew where the tracks went in around the back to the mills. There was a pit back there. So I took my truck and I drove back to the pit. And yeah, when I went back to the pit, there was an old quad trail that we used to quad down and stuff. So I decided to get out of the truck and go up over the bank and have a look there to see if I could see anything, look for tracks or whatnot, because I was thinking, hey, what if this was Bigfoot, right? It definitely wasn't a bear. And yeah, I didn't see anything around that area as for footprints or nothing. It was just looked like it always did, normal quad trail, right? But it's like a hard rock pit anyway, so it'll be very difficult to leave a footprint there. And yeah, I didn't find nothing there then, so I just went back to my truck and drove back, and I didn't say too much about it to anybody really. And it was only a few years later when I was sitting down talking about stories around the fire pit there. My brother-in-law mentioned about a story that had happened where they had seen a Bigfoot and his story. So I decided to tell him my story. And when I told him my story, that's when later on, years later, well, when he's come across your show, that he sent it to me. And he knew right where I explained to him where it happened there with the tracks, that it was actually like only a couple kilometers from a gentleman that saw a Bigfoot in Fort Nelson back in, I think it was 2023. The guy was saying when he saw his Bigfoot sighting there. So he saw it down by the river on the railroad tracks. And it's just like only 2 kilometers away from where I had seen it, the one that I saw. And I did listen to the show, so listening to the gentleman's description on what he saw, well, that was similar to what I saw, but mine was like a darker color, and it didn't have that shape on his chest or anything like that, the one I saw. But mind you, it was like in 2002 when I saw it. Yeah, that was the very first one I seen. And, yeah, I thought about it a lot. And then I started, watching shows on Bigfoot and stuff like that, and just seeing what other people were saying about it. And so anyway, I was, my next sighting, my second one was in, 2020. So I was going on vacation, and, we drive around the Cassiar Loop, it's called. So, we head west or north, depends which way we take that summer, and do the whole loop. So anyway, we went west this summer, and we went over west of Prince George towards Smithers and got to Kitwanga and hit the Highway 37, and then we were making our way up north. And this particular time, we had stopped into a pullout. The kids needed to use the washroom and stuff, so we went in and used the washroom and that. And we loaded the kids back up into the truck, and we started driving, just going north towards Meziadin Junction. And it wasn't too long when we were going. I just had the truck up to speed, and I was looking ahead on the straight stretch, and that's when I seen this running across the road. And I said to my wife, I said, "You see that?" I said, "That ain't no bear." And that's when I was like, I knew exactly what I seen then this time. So we drove up, and I kind of eyeballed where this Sasquatch or Bigfoot shape went into. And I kind of slowed down, and I was looking in where I thought it went in through the bushes there, and it was pretty thick and all growing in with the big timbers and stuff. And I couldn't see nothing. I couldn't hear nothing this time because I actually went up to where I seen it go in, right? So it wasn't such a big surprise like when I saw the very first one, right? So that was my 2 Bigfoot sightings that I've seen.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let us know. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, loves in the plow, and the 5-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah. The sound of a memory brings me back to the bluegrass playing on my dad's 8-track. His pickup man had been through it, getting through the day on scrubs and skags, bucking hay bales to those Tennessee jams. There's no other way that I'd do it. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah. Something going backwards and double time, getting in the soul and the tremolo Kentucky style. Those are the anthems strumming out, country boy living. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Pace of the city life drives me wild. The only tune is the cars rushing by, with the bass on the stereos booming. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah. Something going backwards and double time, getting in the soul and the tremolo Kentucky style. Those are the anthems strumming out, country boy living. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Something going backwards and double time, getting in the soul and the tremolo Kentucky style. Those are the anthems strumming out, country boy living. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm, ride chicken porch swing, mama's best sweet tea kind of sound.